October 2012. Westminster, Colorado. A quiet suburb wrapped in snow. A little girl leaves her house for the park. She never returns. The town awakens to an empty backpack, and then to a discovery that shatters the calm. The suspect is not a stranger in the street. He is a teenager from the neighborhood. The questions multiply like footsteps in the dark. Who was watching? What drove someone so young to cross that line? Welcome to True Crime Vault. Subscribe, like, and ring the bell so you do not miss the chilling truths behind real cases. Today, we reopen the file on the Jessica Ridgeway case. We find ourselves in a tranquil, leafy suburban enclave of Westminster, Colorado, a place where manicured lawns meet the promise of quiet evenings. It was here, amidst the familiar sights and sounds of suburban life, that Jessica Ridgeway called home. She shared a snug, loving house filled with laughter and warmth, with her mom, grandma, and aunt, a close-knit circle of women who adored her. Born to Sarah and Jeremiah, Jessica was a bright and bubbly 10-year-old, a beacon of joy that illuminated every room she entered. A cherished fifth grader at Witt Elementary School, Jessica was the kind of child who effortlessly charmed everyone she met. Though her parents had been separated for years, with her father residing in the distant state of Missouri, she nurtured a loving relationship with both, navigating the complexities of child support and custody arrangements with remarkable grace. Her teachers remembered Jessica as a ray of sunshine, a happy, smiling girl whose positive energy was simply infectious. Always the first to volunteer, her kindness shone through in every action, no matter how small. She was the eager student who always raised her hand in class, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. She was the friendly face that welcomed newcomers, effortlessly forging friendships wherever she went. A model student in every sense, Jessica possessed a genuine love for learning, her enthusiasm igniting a similar passion in those around her. But Jessica's talents weren't confined to the classroom. Her creativity knew no bounds. She spent countless hours crafting intricate dance routines and composing original songs, filling her world with music and movement. A devoted animal lover with a tender heart, she also enjoyed escaping into the fantastical worlds of popular TV shows like Victorious and Wizards of Waverly Place, letting her imagination soar. She embraced life with open arms, tackling any challenge with unwavering determination, never giving up until she had truly mastered it. Her grandma fondly recalls her as an exuberant child, always cheerful and full of life, a whirlwind of positive energy. On the frigid, snow-dusted morning of October 5, 2012, Jessica was up bright and early at 7:45 a.m., her eagerness fueled by a newfound sense of independence that thrilled her. She had recently asked her mom for an alarm clock, relishing the idea of taking charge of her morning routine. She started her day with some TV, happily munching on a granola bar as she got dressed, the snow swirling softly outside her window. Before heading out, she shared a special, intimate moment with her mom, peeling an orange together to pack for school. The sweet citrus scent filling the kitchen. Bundled in her warmest winter coat, a vibrant splash of color against the bleak landscape, she bid her mom goodbye and stepped out into the crisp morning air, unaware of the shadows that lurked nearby. Her plan was simple: meet her friends at their usual spot in Chelsea Park, a short 5-minute walk from her street, a familiar and comforting routine. From there, they would walk to school together, their voices filling the crisp air with chatter and laughter. But on this particular morning, shrouded in an unsettling stillness, Jessica never arrived at their meeting place. Her friends, worried about being late and facing the consequences, were reluctantly forced to continue on to school without her, a decision that would later weigh heavily on their young hearts, a burden of guilt no child should ever have to bear. Jessica was known for her punctuality and near-perfect attendance. She loved school, thrived in its structure and social atmosphere, and wouldn't dream of missing a day. So, when 10 a.m. rolled around, and there was still no sign of her, the teachers grew increasingly concerned and decided to call Sarah, her mother. However, Sarah worked the night shift, diligently working from 10 p.m. to 7 o'clock a.m., and had finally fallen asleep after seeing her daughter off to school, her body craving rest. She didn't hear her phone ringing amidst her slumber, forcing the school to leave a voicemail, a message that would soon shatter her world. It wasn't until 4:30 p.m. that Sarah finally awoke and heard the message, a a wave of dread washing over her as she listened to the chilling words. There had to be a mistake, she told herself, desperately clinging to the faintest glimmer of hope. She immediately drove past the park, scanning the surroundings, hoping to catch a glimpse of Jessica, to see her laughing with friends, her blonde hair catching the sunlight. She then rushed to the school, her heart pounding in her chest, and even visited a few of her friends' houses. But there's no sign of Jessica anywhere, and no one had seen her since that morning. Panic rising, choking her with its icy grip, she dialed the Westminster police, her voice trembling with fear. "My daughter's missing. I guess she never made it to school this morning." "How old is your daughter?" the dispatcher asked, his voice calm and reassuring, a stark contrast to the turmoil raging within Sarah. "She's 10. "Okay. What's your daughter's name?" "Jessica Ridgeway." Sarah's voice trembled as she spoke, each word a painful acknowledgement of the nightmare unfolding before her, the reality of the situation hitting her with full force. "And then you get a pit in your stomach," she later recounted, her voice heavy with grief, a feeling no parent should ever have to experience in their entire life. "And you know, deep down, that your child has been taken." By 9:15 p.m., investigators believed they had gathered enough information to strongly suspect that Jessica had been abducted, and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation issued an Amber Alert, sending shockwaves of fear and anxiety through the community. "Right away, I want to show you this little girl's picture," Jessica Ridgeway, a news anchor, announced on television, her face etched with concern. She never made it to school, and right away, the school called the little girl's mother. The mom works nights, so she didn't get the message until much later in the day. And that's what's bringing us to where we are right now. A massive search taking place right now. Police, along with the CBI, have issued an Amber Alert, and the reason is this. It's because of the amount of time that has passed since she was last seen. At least 50 police officers, including the FBI, are searching right now, another reporter added, highlighting the urgency and scale of the desperate search effort. When we start with an 8-hour delay or a delay as substantial as this, the distance that she could have wandered, even on her own, just gets huge, a law enforcement official explained, emphasizing the daunting challenges of the search, the vast area that needed to be covered. Police say Jessica's father, who lives out of state, is in a custody battle with Jessica's mother. They do not believe Jessica is with him, but are not ruling anyone out. "We don't have a person of interest, and we're going to look at every angle," the police spokesperson stated, assuring the public that no stone would be left unturned in their relentless pursuit of the truth. "Nothing like this has really ever happened," a local resident said, reflecting the community's collective shock and disbelief, the shattering of their sense of security. It's always surprising when something happens here. So, as you can hear from that interview, this is a very serious situation, the reporter continued, her voice somber. "Normally, Jessica meets some friends at a park, which is just about 3 blocks from her home. Then the entire group walks to Witt Elementary. The girls that she usually walks with have been interviewed. They did not see her today, but at such a young age, as of 10 years old, they just did not think much of it. Again, we do want to show the picture of Jessica Ridgeway, 10 years old, 4 feet 10 in height, with shoulder-length blonde hair. She has blue eyes. She is wearing a winter jacket, I'm told. A black, puffy jacket. But with weather like this, it's still of concern. Again, the search is taking place across Westminster. In fact, if you are concerned and would like to help, you can come here to the Westview Recreation Center. We're at the intersection of 108th and Oak again in Westminster," Teresa, a news anchor, reported. But it was now dark and bitterly cold, the air biting at exposed skin, so it would be a long and arduous night. Firefighters used thermal imaging equipment to penetrate the darkness, their red beams cutting through the night, and set up powerful lights that illuminated Chelsea Park, transforming the familiar playground into a scene of intense activity. Police desperately wanted a helicopter equipped with night vision, but the conditions were too treacherous. The blades would ice up into frigid air, rendering it useless. "We're using every resource we have," a police officer stated, his face grim. "We're trying to use air or helicopters that have equipment that can search in the dark. Unfortunately, the weather has grounded those, so we're not able to use that tool. We've brought our fire department in, who has equipment that sees in the dark, thermal imaging equipment, so they're out searching with that. over 400 faculty, and every parent that has a student attending Whit Elementary has received the notification that Jessica is missing. When the sun comes up, police say they will be bringing in even more people to help search for Jessica. They're also hoping for a break in the weather so they can get helicopters up to search from the sky. By 2 a.m., authorities, recognizing the exhaustion of the volunteers, told them to go home and return later in the morning. Westminster Police set up their command center, a hub of activity and coordination, and asked for search volunteers to support their efforts. There was definitely no shortage of people. The community rallied together in a display of unwavering solidarity. Officers were methodically searching homes and gardens, their flashlights probing into the shadows, as well as huge open spaces like creeks and forest areas, their boots crunching on the frozen ground. They talked to a huge number of people, meticulously gathering information and taking 100 DNA samples, hoping to find a match, a crucial piece of the puzzle. They had guards stationed at crosswalks, their presence a reassurance to anxious parents, and photographed cars coming into and leaving the neighborhood, carefully documenting every detail. Most mailboxes and trees were adorned with ribbons in Jessica's favorite color, purple, a vibrant symbol of hope and remembrance in the face of despair, a testament to the enduring power of community spirit. On her desk, a silent witness to her absence, they found Jessica's notebook with some homework in there. On one page, in her youthful handwriting, she had written, "Do not play at the park alone, and watch out for strangers." She was very wary and always careful, a bright and cautious child. So, either she had been lured by someone that she knew and trusted, someone who had betrayed her innocent trust, or she had been snatched without warning, a terrifying and brutal abduction. But approaching or engaging with someone she didn't know did not seem likely, given her cautious nature. The police station soon needed more resources, and the FBI got involved, too, along with 12 different agencies, a testament to the severity of the case. Soon, more than 1,000 people were following up on more than 4,000 tips, a testament to the community's unwavering determination to find Jessica and bring her home safe. 4 days after she went missing, her family, their faces etched with grief and exhaustion, left the house for the first time in order to make a statement to the media. They hadn't been able to face leaving home up until this point, their hearts heavy with grief and uncertainty, their world irrevocably shattered, but they had cooperated fully and given DNA samples, doing everything in their power to assist the investigation. And Mike, the FBI Mobile Evidence Response Team unit, a reporter said, standing outside the Ridgeway home. They were inside this home much of the afternoon, for about 2 hours. They've since left, but they first arrived not even 10 minutes after the Ridgeway family left the home. This FBI evidence response team on standby, soon putting on gloves, covering their shoes, then walking in the front door, inside, outside, looking for any sign of Jessica, any clue that could lead them to her. And this is the first time we are hearing from Jessica's mother and father. Both deny any involvement in her disappearance. Both are holding out hope, the anchor added, setting the stage for the most emotional pleas that were about to be aired, their raw pain laid bare for the world to see. "She's my rock," Jeremiah, Jessica's father, said, his voice thick with emotion, tears welling in his eyes. She's all of our rock." "A mother," Sarah began, struggling to find the words, her voice breaking with sorrow. "The bright voice of my little girl. She needs to come home." "And a father," Jeremiah continued. "I try to stay positive about it, but yeah, it's hard. I just want to find my daughter. I watch her walk out the door, and I shut the door, and that's the last time I saw her." Sarah sobbed, her body racked with grief. "And I want her to come walking back through that door." After searches by ground and by air, still no sign of the 10-year-old aunt. The reality of all of this is now very real, the hope slowly dwindling with each passing hour. "That is not ever anything I want any parent to go through," a commentator said, his voice filled with compassion and empathy, the weight of the tragedy heavy in the air. Police ruled out Jessica's parents as being involved in her disappearance, and their feelings were now that it had been a stranger abduction, a chilling realization that sent shivers down the spines of parents everywhere, a collective fear that their children were vulnerable. The next day, a man 6.5 miles away in the neighborhood of Superior found what he didn't realize at the time was Jessica's backpack. along with her glasses, a water bottle, and some clothes which smelled of urine. A disturbing detail that hinted at the horror she had endured. On the backpack was a keychain with the name Jessica, but making no connection to the search 6 miles away. He posted on the Westminster Townless server, "If this is yours, come and get it." Someone did make the connection and called 911, a pivotal moment that offered a glimmer of hope in the darkness, a small ray of light in a sea of despair. Sarah said she felt in this moment it was a glimmer of hope that they would find her only child safe, that perhaps she was still alive. Over the weekend, a glimpse of optimism for the family when Jessica's backpack and water bottle were found in another subdivision 6 miles away, a reporter stated, her voice carefully measured, trying to convey hope without overstating the facts. "I felt a sliver of hope," Sarah recalled, clinging to the possibility. "I figured, if something really bad happened to her, they wouldn't have got rid of the backpack just sitting there." But this hope would rapidly dissipate when the next day another discovery was made, a discovery that extinguished all hope. It was far more disturbing and final, a devastating blow that shattered their world beyond repair. Late Wednesday night, police announced a body had been found near a park in the Denver suburb of Arvada, a location forever tainted by this tragedy. At this point, they won't officially confirm it is 10-year-old Jessica Ridgeway, but multiple police sources tell ABC News they believe it is the girl's body, their voices heavy with resignation. 6 miles from Jessica's home, maintenance workers, going about their routine tasks, found a heavy bag on the side of the road, an object that seemed out of place and disturbing. They didn't open it, their instincts telling them something was terribly wrong, instead calling over a police officer and his dog, their senses heightened by years of experience. Inside was a small torso, a horrifying discovery that confirmed their worst fears. Testing confirmed that the remains belonged to Jessica. The news delivered with somber gravity, but they were still missing parts of her, and the cause of death had yet to be determined, adding to the agonizing uncertainty. The police said that a wooden cross was found at the scene, but they did not publicly specify exactly where in relation to her remains, a detail shrouded in secrecy. Some sources have stated the cross was placed inside her, a cruel and disturbing act. Others say it was near her, a symbol of misplaced faith. Nonetheless, investigators called it a pivotal piece of evidence, a symbol laden with meaning in the midst of unspeakable horror, a possible clue to the killer's motives. The Westminster Police Chief, Lee Burke, his face etched with sorrow and determination, said, "Our focus has changed from the search for Jessica to a mission of justice for Jessica. We realize there is a predator at large in our community. We pray for the Ridgeway family that you would comfort them." Prayer, candlelight, and song filled the night sky. Saturday night to remember a life taken far too soon, a communal outpouring of grief and support. "It amazes me that people can be that sick in this world," a mourner lamented, expressing the collective grief and disbelief of the community, the inability to comprehend such senseless violence. Hundreds took part in the vigil for Jessica Ridgeway in Westminster, their faces illuminated by the flickering candlelight. Heather Fong and her family among them after her son said he wanted to light a candle for Jessica, his young heart touched by the tragedy. "I feel like it kind of takes their childhood away, because you teach them the world is a really good place, but then you have to train them now that you can't talk to strangers," Heather said, her voice laced with sadness and concern, the innocence of childhood shattered by the harsh realities of the world. As the community mourns the loss of Jessica, police are stepping up efforts to find her killer, their resolve strengthened by the outpouring of support. Saturday, investigators continued trying to develop leads, tirelessly pursuing every possible avenue. They've been going over sex offender lists and have even been reviewing data from cell phone towers around key locations in the case, hoping if a number registered at all of them, it could help lead to a suspect, using every tool at their disposal to bring justice to Jessica. "I don't know if he can make sense of it," a resident said, struggling to comprehend the senseless violence, the inability to find logic in such an act. "Hi, we just need justice for Jessica, though, and so all the kids are safe in the neighborhood," a sentiment echoed by many in the community. They made a link to a previous case that had happened 4 months earlier on Memorial Day, a chilling connection that hinted at a pattern of behavior. A jogger had been out near Kettner Lake and had been attacked from behind by a man who shoved a chloroform-soaked cloth in her face, a terrifying and brutal assault. She was dragged into a bush but managed to escape, her bravery saving her life. The only thing she could say was that he was a white male, and based on the height, he was between 5'6" and 5'8", with an average build, a vague description that offered little to go on. This had happened just a stone's throw away from where Jessica was likely abducted, a chilling connection that hinted at the predator's hunting ground, his preferred area of operation. DNA found on her body matched the DNA found on Jessica's, a breakthrough in the case. So, it was the same attacker, a serial predator who had been lurking in their midst. The FBI spokesman Dave Jolie said everyone really had to be on the highest alert, and they released a profile urging the community to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity. Their safety now dependent on their awareness. We're going to begin this half hour with the Colorado community on edge as police searched for 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway's killer, a news anchor announced, setting the tone for a broadcast filled with fear and uncertainty, the weight of the tragedy palpable. In Jessica Ridgway's community of Westminster, Colorado this morning, there is sadness, anger, and fear, another reporter stated, capturing the pervasive mood of the town. This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. That a killer is on the loose, a terrifying reality that hung over the community. I want to stress that we recognize that there is a predator at large in our community, a police officer emphasized, reassuring the public that law enforcement was working tirelessly to apprehend the suspect and restore their sense of safety, with state, local, and federal agents working Jessica's murder. Police have scoured her neighborhood and the community for clues. More than 1,500 tips have poured in, 500 homes searched, a manhunt underway for a killer still on the street, a desperate race against time. Former FBI profiler Clint Van Zandt said, "This is a whole nother type of predator. Number one, to commit a horrible act, to kidnap a child. But number two, to dispose of a body this way puts this guy in a breed almost by himself. A level of depravity that shocked even seasoned professionals. We haven't identified an individual," a police officer said. "So, we're talking and conveying to our community the importance of looking at behavioral changes, a call to action for everyone to be observant. Unfortunately, it's somebody's family member, a neighbor, a friend." Dozens of worried residents came to Tom Ulrich Saturday for crisis counseling, seeking solace and guidance in the face of unimaginable tragedy, needing to process their grief and fear. Our behavioral analysis unit wants to convey a message to the community and to the public as a whole, a police spokesman stated. They're looking for abnormal behavior, changes in someone's behavior from Jessica's disappearance last Friday until today. It could be something as simple as shaving of their face, could be changing of hair color, cutting of their hair, changing their mood, their personality, packing a vehicle in their garage, and they've always parked it in their driveway. So, we suspect that someone in the community knows this individual, and we're asking for the community's support. Once again, the community has been very supportive in the efforts so far to this investigation, and we're asking that they would do this one more time to help us gather new leads and new information to bring this to a conclusion. A plea for vigilance and cooperation. More than 3,000 people attended a memorial in Arvada to celebrate the life of Jessica Ridgway, a sea of faces, united in grief and remembrance. Her favorite songs played alongside a video of her, a poignant tribute to her vibrant spirit, and it was just a sea of purple in the big crowd, a visual testament to the impact she had on the community. Officers, volunteers, people that knew Jessica, and people that had only learned of her through the unfolding story. Everyone was there, united in grief and remembrance, a collective expression of sorrow and support. Those of us involved in this case unfortunately never had the privilege of knowing your wonderful daughter, an investigator said, addressing the Ridgeway family, his voice thick with emotion. "But I can honestly tell you, we feel like we did. We feel like she's part of our family, and we feel like we've lost part of our family." After detectives released a photo of the cross necklace, a seemingly insignificant detail, a neighbor had recognized it. She lived near the Sig family, and called the FBI to express her concerns about Austin Sig, a 17-year-old who lived with his mom, Mindy, as well as the cross, a name that would soon become synonymous with evil. She knew that he had a fascination with death and decaying human and animal bodies, a disturbing detail that painted a chilling portrait of the young man, a red flag that could no longer be ignored. After this, Austin was spoken to and provided FBI agents with a DNA sample, seemingly willingly. He told them he was home sleeping when Jessica went missing, a claim that seemed plausible at the time, but a lie that would soon unravel. They had noticed he was wearing a similar-looking cross, a subtle detail that had raised their suspicions. However, they left with the samples seemingly satisfied with his answers, and carried on canvassing the area, unaware that they had just spoken to the killer. So many swabs and samples were being collected and tested. An overwhelming amount of data, and protocol was to send back envelopes labeled with the names of those who had submitted the sample. If the envelope was empty, it meant that DNA did not match the samples from Jessica, a simple system of elimination. Austin's envelope came back empty, so they moved on, unknowingly allowing the killer to remain free, a tragic oversight with devastating consequences. But on October 22nd, the media started running the story about the DNA link between Jessica and the attack on the jogger, a development that intensified the pressure on law enforcement. And that very day, Austin told his classmates that he felt wobbly and tremendously sick, his guilt and fear consuming him, the weight of his crimes unbearable. He even slept in his mom's bed that night, seeking a false sense of security and comfort, his conscience plaguing him. The following morning, Austin told his mom he had something to tell her, his voice trembling with fear. Straight away, she asked if it was about Jessica, her intuition screaming at her. "I just knew. I don't know why, but I just knew," she said, her voice filled with anguish. Her motherly instincts sensing the horrifying truth. When he confirmed her fears, Mindy fell to the floor crying, her world collapsing around her. Horror, disbelief. Like, this can't be happening. This cannot be happening, she thought, her mind reeling in denial. "I'm going to jail," Austin said, his voice filled with despair and resignation. "I know," she replied, her heart breaking for her son, and for the Ridgeway family, torn between her love for her child and the horror of his actions. "You've got to call the police. Can you do it for me?" he asked, unable to face the consequences of his actions, his courage failing him. Mindy, her hand shaking, picked up the phone and called 911, the most difficult call of her life. The entire call itself is almost 18 minutes long, so it has been cut down for brevity. "Hi, this is Molly with Westminster Police. Can I help you?" the dispatcher answered, her voice calm and professional, unaware of the bombshell she was about to receive. "Hi, I need you to come to my house. My son wants to turn himself in for the Jessica Ridgeway murder," Mindy said, her voice trembling with emotion, her words barely audible. "Can you tell me exactly what he said?" the dispatcher asked, carefully gathering information, her training kicking in. "But he did it, and he gave me details, and her remains are in my house," Mindy confessed, her words a devastating admission of her son's guilt, a moment that would forever haunt her. "Did you see them?" the dispatcher inquired, needing to confirm the presence of evidence to establish the validity of the claim. "No." "Is he there with you?" "Yes." "Is he cooperative?" "Yes." "What is your son's name?" "Austin." "Okay. I understand that you're probably, feeling pretty crappy right now, but I want you to know that you did the right thing," the dispatcher said, offering a small measure of comfort in the midst of unimaginable horror, a moment of human connection in a sea of tragedy. "He did it. He just wanted me to call. He is turning himself in," Mindy reiterated, her voice barely above a whisper, her spirit broken. "Okay. Do you think that he's going to be cooperative with the officers?" the dispatcher asked, preparing for the arrival of law enforcement, bracing herself for the scene that awaited them. "Absolutely." "Okay, do you think that Austin would talk to me? Will you talk?" "Yeah, hold on. Okay, hello, is this Austin?" "Yes, it is." "Hi, Austin. This is Molly at the Westminster Police Department." "Hi, can you tell me a little bit about what's going on right now? Or how you're feeling? Or how did this come about?" the dispatcher asked, attempting to establish a rapport with the young man, to understand his state of mind. I don't exactly get why you're asking these questions. I murdered Jessica," Ridgeway Austin stated bluntly, his voice devoid of emotion, a chilling declaration of his guilt. "Okay, I have proof that I did it. There is no other question. You just have to send a squad, car or something down here, and I will answer all the questions that you want to ask, or anyone wants to ask of me as soon as you gotta get down here," he continued, eager to confess his crimes, a disturbing eagerness to unburden himself. "Okay, have you committed any crimes like this before?" the inquired, probing for a pattern of behavior, trying to understand the extent of his depravity. Do you have a criminal history of any sort? The only other thing that I have done that before. This was the Kettner Lake incident where the woman got attacked. That was me, Austin admitted, confirming his involvement in the previous assault, solidifying the horrifying reality of his crimes. In the earlier assault, ma'am, I understand you're anxious to contact your husband, and I truly am sorry. But for your safety, and to ensure the officers arrive without incident, could I ask you to stay on the line just a few moments longer? The dispatcher pleaded, her voice a careful blend of authority and reassurance, striving to maintain control and protect everyone involved. Well, how much longer? How far away are they? Mindy questioned, the tremor in her voice betraying her escalating fear. They're just a couple of minutes out, ma'am. Is Austin still with you? Are you able to keep an eye on him? Yeah, he's right here. Maham, I won't let him out of my sight, Mindy vowed, her grip tightening, determined to prevent her son from hurting himself, or God forbid, anyone else. Okay. Has Austin ever been diagnosed with any mental health issues? Does he see a therapist or take any medication? The dispatcher inquired gently, meticulously gathering information to understand the potential factors influencing Austin's behavior. He used to see a counselor some years ago. It was for porn, Mindy confessed, her voice barely a whisper, laced with shame, and a mother's deepest regret. Okay, I can't breathe. Take some deep breaths for me, the dispatcher urged, recognizing the telltale signs of Mindy's rising panic. Do you want me to send an ambulance? Just as a precaution? No, I'm okay. Are you sure? Positive. Okay. What just happened? You sounded a little out of breath. I just opened the window. What's that? I opened the window, Mindy explained, gasping for precious fresh air to try and calm her racing heart and quell the suffocating wave of anxiety threatening to overwhelm her. Okay? I need air. Okay, Mindy. Just a couple of deep breaths for me. In and out. Okay. You tell me the instant you see those officers, all right? They're headed right to your front door, the dispatcher instructed, her voice a steady anchor guiding Mindy through the terrifying ordeal. Okay. I don't see him. You don't see them. The police officers. No, not yet. Is Austin still with you? Is he okay at the moment? Yet he's getting really anxious, pacing back and forth. And so, Mindy admitted, her voice trembling with a fear that threatened to spill over into full-blown hysteria. Okay, they're on the property. They're coming up to the house now. They're coming up to the door. Yeah, I see them. Okay. Do you see them? Can you see the plainclothes officers and their badges? Do you recognize them? Yeah, they're here, Mindy confirmed, the words tumbling out in a rush of both immense relief and profound trepidation. Okay, I'm going to let you go now so you can speak with them. Okay? Okay? Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, you stay safe. Bye. Goodbye. And just 19 days after Jessica Ridgeway vanished, Austin Siggs sat in a stark interrogation room at the police station. He calmly admitted that he had attempted to kidnap the jogger using a homemade concoction of chloroform. The fact that she managed to escape didn't deter him, not in the slightest. On the contrary, he explained, it only forced him to reassess and refine his strategy. He realized he needed someone smaller, someone he could easily overpower. When the police pressed him, asking what he would have done had his attack on the jogger been successful, his response sent a chill through the room. Probably do the same to her that I did to Jessica, revealing the horrifying scope of his intentions. So, you were, for lack of a better word, hunting? The detective asked, his voice carefully controlled, trying to grasp the disturbing logic behind Austin's actions. Yeah, that's the only word I can think of, Austin replied, his tone flat and devoid of any emotion. And did you know Jessica? Had you ever met her before? No. Had you ever even seen her before that day? No. In what would be her final moments of carefree innocence, Jessica was playing in the park, and Austin watched her, a predator observing its prey as she happily made snowballs. He parked his Jeep in a location strategically chosen to remain hidden from view, and continued to observe Jessica as she walked, clutching a snowball in her hands. He waited patiently until she had to cross the street, slumping down slightly in the back seat so she wouldn't see him. As she walked past the Jeep, he exploded into action, jumping out and grabbing her, forcibly pulling her inside the vehicle. Jessica screamed, but there was no one close enough to hear her desperate cries. He bound her hands and feet with zip ties, silencing her and securing his captive. He later said, "Random place, random time, random everything. emphasizing the opportunistic and chillingly arbitrary nature of his crime. I think the second I pulled her into my car, I knew she was dead, Austin confessed, his words a cold and calculated admission of his premeditated intent. Jessica, in her confusion and fear, asked him who he was and if he knew her mom. He recounted. She kept asking me questions. I would answer them, and I would lie to her. I would tell her that everything was going to be okay. His words a stark testament to the cruel manipulation he inflicted upon his young and vulnerable victim. He drove her back to his house, and what exactly transpired there remained shrouded in darkness, known only to him. He claimed that he carried Jessica up to his room and, with a twisted sense of normalcy, cut the zip ties off her wrists and started playing cartoons for her. He told her over and over that she would be going home to her mom soon. His words a grotesque and horrifying parody of comfort. She had wet herself out of fear, so he forced her to change out of her clothes, giving her his own white t-shirt and a pair of black shorts. He also, inexplicably, cut her hair, a detail that added another layer of depravity to the already unspeakable crime. He made her turn away from him, a final act of control and dehumanization, before he strangled the life out of her. Austin chillingly confessed that an overwhelming sexual urge had driven him to abduct Jessica, yet he continued to insist that he never sexually assaulted her. With a disturbing lack of emotion, he admitted to dismembering her body in the bathtub, stuffing her torso into 2 separate bags, and initially hiding them in the pool house before ultimately disposing of them. He coldly catalogued the removal and identification of each of her organs, claiming he had learned the technique from a forensic science class he had taken. He stated, with chilling matter-of-factness, that the key to being a successful serial killer was the ability to make bodies disappear. Austin's treatment of Jessica's remains displayed a level of heartless disregard rarely encountered, even by seasoned investigators. The 17-year-old then calmly directed authorities to the other parts of her body, which he had hidden in a cramped crawl space beneath his house. In addition to the crawl space, Austin described his failed attempts to flush smaller pieces of her remains down the toilet, an effort ultimately thwarted by the plumbing system. Investigators later recovered identifiable human tissue within the home's plumbing, confirming his gruesome and desperate disposal attempt. Tragically, Jessica was already dead, even before the police had officially begun searching for her. Hours into the interrogation, a shocking oversight came to light. Austin's DNA sample had been misplaced and never tested. The sight of the empty envelope bearing his name served as a stark reminder of the critical error. Immediate test was ordered, and the results were, beyond any doubt, conclusive. His DNA matched the samples found on the jogger and on Jessica. After impounding the Jeep he confessed to dragging Jessica into. Authorities discovered broken zip ties inside, providing further corroborating evidence. Hal Sargent, the chief deputy district attorney at the time, believed that the way Austin discarded Jessica's belongings was a deliberate and calculated message, meant to unequivocally declare her death and taunt investigators. Tell you she's dead. There's a reason he chose the items that smelled of urine, her jacket and socks, and other items of clothing he threw out. He chose carefully. It was all part of his twisted game. Austin harbored a long-standing and morbid fascination with death, a fascination now fueled by a desire to become a mortician. He was, in fact, attending community college, diligently taking courses in mortuary science. He revealed that, at the shockingly young age of just 12 years old, he had become addicted to watching child abuse material online. He described himself as sexually disturbed and sadistic, regularly consuming graphic, gruesome, and twisted content. Austin's parents, who had been divorced for many years, had nonetheless made efforts to help him, albeit unsuccessfully. In 2008, they sought guidance from a faith-based counselor, but, according to Austin, his obsession only intensified, rendering their efforts ultimately futile. He said it started getting worse and worse and more violent things. And I mean, as things got more and more violent, it was such a slow progression of the step up that I don't even know if I realized it was getting harder. It took a hold of me and it just started growing. After I got done seeing my Christian therapist, psychiatrist, whatever you want to call it. After that, I thought I had a grip for a little while, and then it probably lasted not even a month, and then I went back to it. Austin's doctors, deeply alarmed by his escalating and disturbing behavior, contacted his father, Robert, in 2009, urgently urging him to limit his son's access to television and computers. and to closely monitor his online activity. Alright. Well, police in suburban Denver are still removing evidence from the home of a teenage college student in custody for the kidnapping and murder of 10-year-old Jessica Ridgeway. The grim task of piecing together the puzzle of this horrific crime continues. Austin Sigg was charged as an adult with a staggering 17 counts, including 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of kidnapping, reflecting the magnitude and depravity of his actions. Despite his persistent denials of sexual assault, the sheer volume of child abuse material he consumed, coupled with his openly admitted sadistic tendencies, painted a vastly different and far more disturbing picture. In light of this evidence, prosecutors added 3 more counts, including sexual assault on a child, robbery, and sexual exploitation of a child after yet more child abuse material was discovered on his electronic devices. In the case of the jogger, he was charged with attempted first-degree murder, attempted kidnapping, and attempted sexual assault. New courtroom sketches emerged, depicting Austin Sigg, the seemingly ordinary teenager who pleaded not guilty to the brutal killing of 10-year-old Jessica Ridgeway. Despite his detailed and chillingly candid confession, well, this could very well be a placeholder plea. Even though Austin Sigg pleaded not guilty on all counts, he has the option to modify that later, including guilty and not guilty by reason of insanity. The legal maneuvering has only just begun. His father, Robert, issued a brief and somber statement expressing the family's profound anguish and grief. There are no words to express the sorrow that I and my family feel for the pain they are suffering. We are devastated by the knowledge that my son Austin Sigg has been arrested. This horrible event is a tragedy for both families as well as the community. I ask also for your prayers and support for Austin's mother, whose courageous act, unimaginably painful for any parent, has put this tragedy on the path to resolution. Mindy, who had made the agonizing decision to turn her own son in to the authorities, later confessed to a deep-seated and overwhelming sense of guilt. Not because I had anything to do with it, but because I brought this child into the world. Sarah, Jessica's grieving mother, adamantly rejected any notion of blame being placed on Mindy. There's nothing she did that caused this. I don't think how she raised him had anything to do with what he did. It was all him. Mindy painfully recalled Austin as a beautiful baby, a smart and kind child, making it all the more incomprehensible that he could be capable of committing such unspeakable acts of violence and depravity. Nobody else existed. I don't know what music was popular. I don't know what TV shows were popular. He was everything I could have possibly wanted. He was my whole world. A classmate who had known Austin since middle school observed, with a chilling sense of hindsight, there was always something wrong with him. He was always one of the kids in class who was really smart, but he would be by himself. He'd talk to himself and just act really awkward around people. Despite his obvious intelligence, he began to struggle in school, and Mindy discovered that he was being bullied mercilessly because of his unusual voice. He eventually dropped out of high school altogether and obtained a GED. Over the years, his behavior had become increasingly unsettling and disturbing to those around him. One neighbor, Emily, recalled that her perceptive 11-year-old daughter had immediately identified Osanan as the likely kidnapper upon hearing the initial news reports about Jessica's disappearance. I feel bad that I dismissed it. I just didn't take her seriously. When Emily Alexander's 11-year-old daughter said she knew who kidnapped Jessica, no one believed her. She goes, "Mom, oh my God, I know who did it." And I go, "Who?" And she goes, "The goth teenager from the park." She had seen him lurking at this park just down the road. She says a teenage boy had been acting strangely, staring intently at her daughter as she walked by their home. And she pointed him out right across the street from her house. It was chilling. Emily Alexander believes that her daughter's friends may have inadvertently saved her from a similar fate. If she had been at the park alone, there's no telling, what could have happened. I should have let her know that in the moment she feels uncomfortable, that she should trust that, and that, it's better to be safe than sorry. It's a lesson I'll never forget. Austin's not guilty plea to all charges in both Jessica's case and the jogger's case came as a profound shock to the community, given his detailed and self-incriminating confession and the undeniable discovery of Jessica's remains in his home. The prospect of a full-blown trial, with its inevitable recitation of the gruesome details and the potential for further trauma, was a burden that many struggled to bear. Because he was just 17 years old at the time of the murder, he was ineligible for the death penalty. If convicted, he would face a sentence of life in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving 40 long years. His defense attorney argued that his actions were impulsive, and that he was genuinely struggling to comprehend his own motives. They claimed that Austin's mother had accidentally inhaled paint fumes and fallen down the stairs while pregnant with him, resulting in Austin being born with a head problem due to the traumatic use of a vacuum extractor during his delivery. They further stated that he suffered from serious intestinal issues and had undergone surgery 3 separate times. They also pointed to Austin's difficult upbringing in a home marked by divorce and his father, Robert Sigg's, extensive arrest record, which included charges of mortgage fraud, multiple DUIs, assault, domestic violence, and drug dealing, all in an attempt to paint a picture of a troubled and damaged young man. The defense cautioned the court against prematurely presuming that a child who had committed such a heinous act would never be eligible for parole, emphasizing the potential for rehabilitation. The court would be presumptuous and speculative to assume at this early age because of an act by a child that child would never be appropriate for parole. But Anna Salter, a psychologist who had meticulously reviewed the extensive police records related to the case, countered this argument, noting that Austin had not been abused as a child and adding that, despite his parents' divorce, everything had seemed relatively stable at home, and he did, in fact, have a supportive family. He certainly had no empathy for Jessica Ridgeway. This was not an impulse he had and then felt horrible about later, she said, her voice firm. Prosecutors argued forcefully that Austin's actions were carefully planned and demonstrated a clear pattern of premeditation. They highlighted his extensive online searches for homemade chloroform and phrases like, "top 10 places people get abducted." In addition to the disturbing and violent content he regularly consumed and openly admitted to watching, the founding fathers of this country did not set forth an amendment that says when a young man kidnaps, robs, sexually assaults, and murders, and dismembers a 10-year-old girl that everything other than the murder should be excused. We must hold him accountable for his actions. What we do know is that this young man is incredibly dangerous. The only way to protect the community from him is to keep him confined forever. They have never seen an offense like this committed by someone under the age of 18, ever. Not in this county, not in this state, and not in this country. This case is an anomaly of pure evil. Austin was held in the Special Housing Unit at the Jefferson County Detention Center, segregated from the general adult population for his own safety and security. Almost exactly 1 year after Jessica vanished on her way to school, and just 2 days before his trial was scheduled to begin, Austin, in a stunning turn of events, pleaded guilty to a total of 15 charges, including first-degree murder, sexual assault of a minor, kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, and sexual exploitation of a minor. The plea agreement brought an end to the long and agonizing wait for justice. Justice for Jessica delivered today. It's been just over a year since 10-year-old Jessica Ridgeway disappeared. Well, today, her teenage killer Austin Sigg learning he will spend the rest of his life behind bars. There was a collective sigh of relief across the community. He received a life sentence for the first-degree murder charge, plus an additional 86 consecutive years for the kidnapping, sexual assault, and robbery charges. One of Sigg's attorneys was seen mouthing, "Are you okay?" to Sigg, who simply replied, in a barely audible whisper, "Yeah, I'm fine." He remained largely expressionless throughout the entire day, showing no remorse or empathy for his victims. It was truly a reflection of pure evil, and Austin Sigg deserves everything he got. He was sentenced to 40 years for the murder of Jessica, but the judge added another 86 years for his other crimes, although he would have technically been eligible for parole due to his juvenile status at the time of the killing. The imposition of the additional 86 years effectively eliminated that possibility, ensuring that he would remain incarcerated for the remainder of his natural life. District Attorney Peter Weir emphasized that there had been absolutely no plea bargain in this case. There were no concessions. "We are not going to make any concessions for Austin Sigg." The judge concurred, stating emphatically, "This case cries out for a life sentence." Austin chose not to address the court and showed absolutely no emotion whatsoever as the sentencing decision was read aloud. He remained cold and detached. "So, I'm actually not going to say anything today because I don't think that the defendant has the right to hear how he affected me, my family, or who Jessica was. Once we walk out of this courtroom, we'll not remember his name, and we'll all only remember Jessica and the legacy she created as well as the Lassie Project in which she inspired. Thank you, Jessica's memory will forever endure." Mindy affirmed that she has never once regretted her difficult decision to call the police and turn her own son in. She has since immersed herself in intensive therapy and, while she still thinks about Austin, and misses the son she once knew. She has completely severed all contact with him. I haven't talked to him since that day. I can't, and he has not reached out to her either. Part of the reason why I don't talk to him is because I don't feel like I'm ever going to hear the truth about anything. I can't be lied to by him anymore, and I've never gotten a real answer as to why he did what he did. I need something to help me understand, but I don't think I'll ever get it. When asked if she had a message for the Ridgeway family, Mindy responded with heartfelt sincerity. I would literally give my life to change what happened. I would trade my life for Jessica's. Even now that I'm feeling better, I would do that in a heartbeat if I could. Jessica's grandmother shared that every member of their close-knit family felt a deep sense of compassion for Mindy. Despite everything, we understand that she has lost a son, too. It's a different kind of loss, a loss of a different sort, but she still lost a son. My heart truly goes out to her. If we could have hugged her in court and they would have let us, we probably would have, but we couldn't. I just wanted to know that we think about her a lot. The community, in a remarkable display of unity and resilience, has transformed the park into a living memorial to Jessica, ensuring that her spirit will continue to shine brightly for generations to come. And this park has just been transformed here. Everywhere you look, there are hints of Jessica. From the purple that is speckled throughout the park, to this dragonfly Tota, which we're told represents a school project she was particularly fond of that she was working on at the time of her disappearance. Her memory is etched into every corner of this place. Now the way Jessica's community still remembers and celebrates her young life is truly special, with something going on all the time it seems. A memorial playground was lovingly built, featuring a custom 40-foot track ride, imprinted knock-knock jokes contributed by her classmates, and a custom-designed ribbon swing set, all bathed in vibrant shades of purple, her favorite color. Of course, there was also significant work done to promote and expand the Lassie Project, a free service that allows parents and guardians to instantly notify the local community about a missing child, providing a crucial early warning system. The Jessica Ridgeway Cheer Camp was also established, reflecting her heartfelt aspiration to become a cheerleader who would be kind and welcoming to everyone she met. Music. 5 years after the devastating loss of her beloved daughter, Sarah welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world, whom she named Anna. A beacon of hope had emerged from the darkness. The reminders of her are everywhere. Jessica's presence is felt in every room. Lots of purple. It's a constant reminder of our love for her. Her sweet 10-year-old smile. Her pictures everywhere. We want Anna to know all about her big sister, her favorite color. Everything we do to honor her memory. We all still wear purple. Purple's everywhere in our house. It's a small way to keep her close. I think she makes her presence known. She's still with us. That's how Sarah Pendle Ridgeway and her family remember Jessica. They keep her spirit alive in every possible way. We still talk about her. She still exists for us. She's forever a part of our family. Yes, it's hard, and it's the hardest thing that anybody could possibly do is to move forward. But I need to remember who she was and who I would have hoped she would have become, and know that I need to keep moving forward for her. It's what she would have wanted. Go. It's time to embrace the future. She was born October 15th on a Christine Pendle Ridgeway. Her and her sister shared the same middle name, a tangible link between the two. And then her eyes are blue, different blue than Jessica's. But they're blue. They sparkle with life and joy. She loves her hands. They're her favorite thing in the whole wide world. She's discovering new things every day. I think Jessica would be absolutely enamored with her. She's very much ever present. We talk to Jessica all the time, and I think she kind of turns her head. It looks like she's talking to somebody over in the distance. So I think her sister definitely comes and visits, and leaves her little sparkly way around. And Mom and Grandma say they'll tell Anna all about Jessica's sparkle as soon as she's old enough to understand. They want to share her story. I'm mostly going to say that, she has a big sister that left before she was born. She has a guardian angel watching over her. They are determined to raise Anna without fear, without letting the tragedy that befell Jessica define her life. They want to raise her without fear. I'm going to try not to let what happened overshadow how I raise Anna, because I don't want her to be smothered a little bit. I want her to be able to have her own little life, to experience the world without being burdened by the past. She's not replaced. She's just expanded. Our family has grown, and Jessica is still a part of it. No, she definitely has an extra special angel watching over her, guiding her every step of the way. Sarah said she knew Jessica would have been the best big sister imaginable, but she watches over her now in a different and equally powerful way. Jessica's story is as heartbreaking as they come. The thought of her last moments of childlike wonderment, doing what every 10-year-old should be able to do, play in the snow, meet her friends, have another good day at school, and come home ready to share the day's events. In a split second, everything changed irrevocably, and that purity and innocence was cruelly stolen away. The Ridgeway family, like so many others in their position, take it one day at a time, finding strength in their love for one another. Sarah described Jessica's murder as akin to a shattered plate, with one irreplaceable piece forever missing, leaving an unfillable void in their lives. Though you can try to piece it back together, the cracks remain visibly etched into the surface, and it's never quite the same again. She said, "You can't quite put it back together correctly and completely. The pain will always be there, in the end." The case of Jessica Ridgeway forces us to confront a truth we often push aside. Danger does not always come from dark alleys or distant strangers. Sometimes, it grows quietly, unnoticed, in the very places we believe are safe. This tragedy reminds us that vigilance is not fear, it is responsibility. It is the small choices we make every day, walking together, checking in, paying attention to the moments that feel off, and it is the commitment to protect every child's right to grow up without shadows lurking behind their innocence. But beyond caution, this story teaches us something deeper: the strength of a community united, the courage of a mother who refused to look away, and the enduring power of memory. Jessica's light did not fade. It became a call to awareness, compassion, and action. If these stories matter to you, if you believe understanding the past can keep others safe in the future, then I invite you to stand with us. Support the True Crime Vault by subscribing, liking, and sharing our videos. Your engagement helps us continue bringing well-researched, respectful storytelling to those who seek the truth. And when you are ready, explore more cases. On this channel, each one a reminder of the world we live in and the vigilance it asks of us.